interesting innovations that have come in digital signage for me is looking at the direct light LEDs and the pixel pitches coming down and the costs coming down. Also the costs on things like PCAP, they're coming down. So it's looking for that next thing. That's why I'm here. Room signage, getting smaller screens and that use less power, and this is the place to come and find it. So this has kind of been my soapbox for a couple of years, but the single most important thing anybody can do when they're looking at doing digital signage, it's not the hardware, it's not the software, it's the content that they have, the content they're going to repurpose, and the ongoing content they're going to put on these displays. Anybody can go find a screen that works for them, anybody can go find software that works for them, but I put it up with content, and in 3 weeks I don't have content. Especially in the EDU space, your students, your faculty are the same every day. So the content has to continually change, continually update, and if it becomes stale, they're going to stop looking at your screens. So they're not going to get emergency alerts, they're not going to get that message you want to send to them because it's stale news. So it's always got to be updated, it's always got to be content, it's always got to be new content, and that's where we really push feeds and RSS feeds and Twitter and Facebook and social media accounts. So that's kind of the thing I push, but then once you know that content, it's very easy to come here and find the hardware you need, find the content management solution or visual communications software that you need to have a successful digital signage network. So the content comes to, it's having the content in one space. So it's horrible for me to say this, but a lot of people sell content management solutions. I really see them as an aggregator of all these other pieces of content coming together, and then they're being displayed through this content management solution. So it's finding what works for your organization, if it's a shared folder or an XML feed or an RSS feed, where this content's going to house, and then not only distribute it to your digital signage, but distribute it to mobile, distribute it to web pages. Or do you make an app? Do you just make a responsive web page? But the whole impetus is to get that all in one central location for your organization. So if your logo changes, it changes everywhere. If Susie's office moves, you change it here, it changes everywhere. So really getting people to think about the back end, the untangible, sloppy stuff that you can't sell to anybody is really what I try to push to EDUs and people I talk to when I come out to conferences, and then help them once they've kind of figured that out. I think this hardware would be great for you, or I think this software would be great for you. So yeah, that's kind of it's not digital signage per se, but it's the content is the driving force to have a successful digital signage network. And if you don't look at that as numero one going into it, you're not going to be successful. So the gamification is there. We haven't done a lot of it at WVU, just for the fact of who's going to pay for that gamification. So who's going to put the monetary dollars to give 20% off on a meal, or get better seats at this event? And that's really working with other constituents across your organization or the university to how do you do that? We have done some things where we've pushed them to a URL that we're tracking, and that URL is only on our digital signage. It's also other places, but we do a unique URL, and we kind of get clicks and who's done it. A lot of our screens are now interactive, so we get clicks on there, and it's just building that up from a poster. Do you do more information, and do you tie a URL to that poster? So you're pushing them to a web page then, either on your screens or pushing it to email me more information. And then you type in your email and then it sends you information. So the reason for that on the EDU space and any digital signage is you don't want people outside of your box that you've created that experience. So putting them on a web page, how locked down is that? How far does it go? Does it look good? It's going to look better on their phone as a web page. How do you get that content to them? Is it NFC? Is it a QR code? Is it an email address? And is it text messaging? And it's really finding what costs prohibit you from doing things and what back end you have to do that. The top three things I see issues in digital signage deployments is using an integrator that ends up putting things on the wall and walks away. So now you're with this orphan system, or they support it for 3 years and they decide, oh, we don't want to pay for the ongoing maintenance of it, and then year 4 things happen and now it costs more to get back into it. So that's that longevity plan of that. not buying commercial grade monitors. So we had a group that said, we're going to go to Best Buy and buy a screen. They put it on the wall. 6 months later, it started to die. They now paid 1.5 times what they could have done just buying the screen from me initially, because they went and thought they knew more than us. So it's getting that trust from your constituents that you know what you're talking about. And coming to DSE really gets you that knowledge base so that you know what you're talking about, and you can get certifications here that you can come back and say, I've been certified, this is what the industry is doing, to help you do that inside sales. And then the other third, which is, again, this content, is they put a screen up, they put this big video wall up that's not 16:9 to some weird aspect ratio, and then we can't make content for it. So the content gets stale. That's the biggest thing. I really think that on the higher ed, it helps build community. It kind of seems weird. A buddy of mine from Nebraska and I were having a conversation yesterday, and like, where do we see digital signage? And we kind of came up with this, like, I see a monolith by the recreational fields that say which fields are open, so kids put down their phones, they get away from the technology, and they interact with each other. It's telling them where this student organization meets that is, stereotypical Dungeons and Dragons, or the equestrian team, or the niche. And I think probably the problem in the EDU space is there's a lot of places you can go get the same degree. What makes University A better than University B? And can we use digital signage when they're coming for campus visits to show them that student life and the housing and the food and what we have to offer student life-wise and at A that you're not going to get at B. Again, you can still get the same English degree at both, but like, what's going to be how are you going to be as a human 4 years from us versus 4 years from them? So things that we're doing, we just switched over through our visual communication system. It's leveraging that better. We just rolled out new implementations for that. So it's seeing what's out there to see if we're doing it right, because you're in your own little bubble when you're at home doing your stuff. So it's looking at that and bouncing it off of people that we've met over the years at DSE, and how are they doing it? Does this make sense? We're looking at room signage. So people find it really hard to pay $1,200, $1,400 for a 10-inch screen. So we're trying to find other solutions that may be an e-ink solution. We're also looking for some hospitality screens, which we may not find specifically here, but we're going to see those heavy hitters in those markets, and they may not have the information, but they're going to give me somebody that has the information on their hospitality side for monitors. So it's a good starting off point, and what I really like about DSE is that it is condensed to digital signage. There are other conferences that have digital signage as a component to them, but it's so watered down that part of the time you're talking to somebody in a booth and you don't know what you're talking about. And then you've wasted time just getting on to that, oh, we're going to talk about digital signage, and then that person you're talking to really does hospitality and not digital signage. Well, now you got to wait for Bob, who does the digital signage for that company. So I think here you can really distill down your experience and get way more in 2 days here than you would at 3 days, 4 days somewhere else. It's really hard to convince an EDU to send you, an hour's drive to a conference that you pay for or you don't pay for, and even if you can come out to DSE to Vegas and just do the show floor and sign up for when it's free, you're going to get a ton of information. There's free sessions on the floor that you're going to get. Yeah, you might not get the conference side of it and that really honed down stuff, but you come to a conference, just the conference side of it, and then the next year or 2 years you make the case like, I really need to go to these sessions to learn what my partners are doing in the industry. The other really nice thing about DSE is, like, yes, I'm an EDU, but I can go see what gaming's doing. I can see what hospitality is doing. I can see what museums are doing and go, oh, I could totally steal that for this. Because we have a visitor center that's more of a museum piece. I have a project with our health sciences that are putting in a museum, and they've hired a company to do museum-y stuff, and they want to go way outside the box and outside the reservation that we do, which is good, but I can also see what's here that can help me out of our form factor box, make that a success without having to use the software we already use.